Guys, I just said, by the way, welcome to All In with Allie, the podcast for online business owners and entrepreneurs who are ready to create the life and business of their dreams. We're so happy you're here. I'm here with Tiffany Wallace. And I just said to Tiffany, if I had $1 for every tech issue that I have had over the past few months, I would be I wouldn't be rich, but I'd be able to buy a bag at least.
It just makes me laugh. Literally, I've been trying to figure that out. I've had this mic now for 4 years, Allie. I mean, geez.
I know. And we both podcast, and it's like, we know what we're doing. And Chris makes fun of me all the time. He was like, it's so crazy that literally everything you do revolves around technology and the internet. But when it comes to like me having to figure out like the actual tech thing, I'm like, no.
I know.
Somebody do it for me and just point in the direction. Tell me where to talk. I'm like the old grandma trying to use the thing like, huh?
Mine is my printer. Like my printer in my office, for some reason,
dude,
it just like randomly quits working. And I think it's sometimes because I take my computer up to my closet to record the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then so when I need to print something like for my boys I print very little things for business, but he gets so frustrated. I'm like, why is this not working? He was like, how is this so difficult for you? Like, I don't understand. Like,
no, because God wants us to hate printers. Like, I don't understand. Printers are the worst. I've made jokes before. Like anytime I have a printer issue, I just buy a new one.
Yep.
It's so much, like, it feels so much better to me. Like I wanted to, like when I have a printer issue, I want to take a bat to it. I get so just ridiculously pissed off. It doesn't even make sense how mad I get at this printer. It triggers something in me because it's like, I don't need it to work a lot, but when I need you to work, right? And usually, you know, when you need to print something off, like I'm usually in a hurry. I'm trying to run out the door. I need to return a couple things or whatever, or I don't know, trying to do something at the freaking DMV, and then the printer's not going to work, and I want to take it back to it, and I'm working on it.
I went and bought one, and then he was like, found a piece that was broken. He's like, no, I am gluing this. There's no reason to buy a new printer. There's nothing wrong with this.
There's every reason to buy a new printer. Everybody just go get a new printer.
Oh my gosh. So funny. So funny.
How have you been?
So good. It's so good to see your face.
It's so good to see you too.
I mean, I say that, but I see you, I know, all the time, but
I know.
Virtually.
But it's been a minute.
It has.
It's been a minute since we've been used to seeing each other anyway.
I know. But it's been good. All good. I just got back
Tell me what's going on in your life.
So yesterday I got back from Louisville, Kentucky. My part-time assistant, Lauren, lives there.
Yeah.
And we did a little brand photo shoot. Like, it was so fun. You know, she takes pictures on her phone. We keep it so simple. It was just, It was awesome. It's such a good reminder for me always of, you know, it's about so much more to me than just like taking pictures. But I'm a mom of 3 boys. Like, I really value having some pictures to create content with, and the real life in between of everything, you know, creating content around that. But yeah, so that was super fun. It was like, we did like a full day.
Did you guys, because I know last time you guys did an Airbnb. What did you do this time?
We just did a hotel in Louisville.
Oh, nice.
And out and about, and it was really cool. So kept it like, again, so simple. She took pictures on her phone, but now it's really cool to have, you know, content and just to connect with her in person. And so that was great.
Shout out to Louisville too. My sister-in-law lives there, and one of my best friends just moved there.
Oh, wow.
And it's such a beautiful little city. It's so, especially in the fall. We just went for a music festival, Chris and I, and we stayed downtown at this like haunted mansion that was made in like 1860 something. And no, it was like 1887 or 86. And it was vibey. Actually, surprisingly good vibes though, but I really like Louisville. But I also, anyway, back to your shoot. I love how a couple of things. You keep it simple, right? You let your assistant support you in this. You don't hire out, like you're already paying your person. You just allow her to step in and take beautiful photos, which as women, we know what we're looking for.
Yes.
And she knows you very well. You guys vibe together.
Yeah.
So you keep it so simple, but also, yeah, mom of 3 boys. You have 3 and more excuses to not do this and not take the time. Because how far is Louisville from where you live?
5.5 hours. So it wasn't bad. But I mean, 5.5 hours in a car by
oh my
myself.
God.
It was.
Oh yeah.
It
Well,
was great.
good for you.
Yeah.
But there you go. Like it's all the way that, it's the perspective that you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have those photos and you have that footage, it makes life, in my opinion, when you're running a business, so much easier than trying to repurpose the same thing over and over and over again, or snap a photo with children hanging all over you, which, hey, works in a pinch.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And, I like it's so moments like that. I mean, this was like this, we did one in April, and it's such a good reflection moment for me. I'm so much about that, because I think back when I started my coaching business, and I was like, I had the podcast, I have to have a website. Oh my gosh, I need to have these beautiful photos, and it's like, I made it everything. We make it so big. Mm-hmm. And I was driving home yesterday, and I was like, it's just one of those moments where you look back and you're like, I'm so proud of how far I've come. Like, if you want to do the big photo shoot, great. And maybe I will one day, but also what we did was just so easy, so fun, and so effective too. So, and it meant a lot.
And who cares how, like, a photo shoot's a photo shoot, right? We just need the
exactly.
photos. Like, who cares the production? Yeah. I mean, yeah, like certain production elements can make photos super, some of them, it can give a certain vibe, but also, especially when we're growing online and lifestyle brands, it's the more down to earth. I don't want to say relatable necessarily, but like that, it's that, like, you're showcasing women, what's possible for them.
Mm-hmm.
You work with obviously you work with women, but like you work with a lot of moms, and you're helping a lot of moms go from whatever it is that they're doing that's not necessarily fulfilling them to chasing after and like really moving toward the thing that they want. And every time that you do this in the way that makes the most sense for you, whether it looks like driving a few hours and having your assistant snap some photos, or like a full-blown photo shoot, you're showing other women what's possible for them too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so fun. So, and it's funny, but the day before I was like, do I really need to go? Should I just cancel this? The things that we do ourselves. I told you that with the last one too. But we're always so thankful we follow through with things like that, because it's like our brain trying to keep us safe, because it's another level of stepping out of our comfort zone and owning, what we're doing and what we're here to do. And so, yeah, it was good. It
My
ties
brain
so well.
does that.
Oh yeah, all the time.
I mean, every single thing. Where was I just talking about that? Maybe I mentioned a podcast. I can't remember, but I was like, you might be surprised here. Like you've been running your business for years. I've been running my business for years. We both, we've spoken on stages. We have podcasts. We do this. And anytime that I'm doing anything outside of my home, I have doubts before I go. Like, maybe I should cancel. Should I get sick? And I don't. If I commit, I commit, and I show up. And you're absolutely right. It's, you get done, you're like, whew. Like every time I go to speak on stage, the week leading up to it, I am nearly crippled with anxiety and doubting myself. And like, this speech is awful. I'm going to forget everything. I'm going to fall on my face. Who am I to be on that stage? Nobody's going to care. Like every single limiting thought that you can think is flowing through my head. And it's like, well, you're going. and then you get off the stage and it's like, whoa, I could do that every day of my life. Let's go.
That's
wild.
Well, and I was thinking about this the other day, actually, the thoughts on the drive home yesterday, about the dream, right? Like we start our business because we have this dream, we have this vision, and that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like what this could be. And I was thinking, like, did I ever imagine I would be like going to do like a photo shoot like that but no, but like, oh my gosh, I love it. You know, and I think back on my life in different moments, and it's like I saw phases of that, like pieces of that. And, but then I think, you know, is part of the dream that I imagine me being in my home office, surrounded by children half the time, screaming and trying to focus and, you know, just the craziness of things.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, but yes, you know, but yes, you know. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was just one of those things. You know, I talk a lot about a power board instead of a vision board. It's just like us being in our power, like what we really want. And it's like,
Ooh, talk to me about that. I haven't heard that.
I don't know. I mean, I have like a power day is kind of like my CEO day.
Mm-hmm.
I go for a power walk. It's just like if me fully showing up in my power, in my strengths, like in my greatness, like my God-given gifts,
Mm-hmm.
then what would my life look like? What would my business look like? How much money would I be making? How would I be showing up? And looking at the whole human aspects of them. And that keeps me grounded, keeps me going. But it's, you know, it's funny. We think, you know, about, and, you know, I think it's that like integration of being real, being like, oh my gosh, I don't have to wake up anymore and rush out the door. I get to have a slow morning. I get to be with my kids. I get to take them to schools I'm in love with. Well, I come home and work and do something that I like love so much. And, but is everything in between there dreamy? No, you know, like,
and it never will
it
be.
never will be. And, but I think understanding that, because I think it's so easy to use that as this isn't meant for me, then I shouldn't be doing this. This isn't what I thought this was going to look like, you know. And I think it kind of all ties into what, you know, we're going to dig even more into today. But when we think about being all in, it's being able to let go of the how too. And that has been like some of the biggest lessons for me along the way that I still continue to learn. I mean, I think this is the work, right? Like, you know, letting go of that. But there's moments I think, oh my gosh, do I want to be launching this offer? Because I feel like I didn't imagine me recording this offer right now and I would be, you know, doing this. But it's like you get into the offer and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I love this. Like, this is why I'm teaching this, you know? So it was just lots of reflection yesterday on the dream, the journey, and it's just part of it, you know. So
Okay, I have tangible questions related to, because I love this idea before we dive into like all in and we go super deep. I love this idea of like power walks, the power board, the power, because I know for myself, and I talk so much about this, but it's worth repeating every single episode, how different you show up when you are tapped into, let's call it your power, right? Which just means, at least like my definition of this, and let me know if you would add anything on. My definition of being tapped in to your power is where you remember that you are a child of God, that you are worthy of what it is that you want, that your desires were put on your heart for a reason. And if there's a reason why they're put on your heart, you are the person to make that happen. And you're worthy of, you're born worthy, nothing's changed, all of the things, right? And you move forward and you act in that energy versus waking up, being rushed, being frustrated, things not going a certain way, or even if things are going away, but you haven't taken the time to remind yourself your mission and what it is that you actually want. And that, yes, like it may not have, you know, the dream may not have dropped just yet. Things may not be, you may not be at the level of revenue or income that you expected yet. You may not have found the man yet. You may not have the family yet. You may not be in the house. You may not like, but it's coming and it's inevitable and it's going to be that or something better, right? Like moving forward with that energy of knowing, not wondering, not hoping, but knowing. That creates a level of confidence and energy. And when you take action with that versus not tapped into that, the actions tend to be night and day different, right?
oh
So
yes,
there are a lot of people, and there's so many different ways to do this, right? Like everybody has their favorite modality of doing this, whether it's breath work or it's meditation or it's power walks for you, or for me, I'd love to journal, or, driving and just listening to a specific song, and it just
Mhm.
like, boom, it just activates me. That's another word. It's like you're activated, right? When you are doing this for yourself, you mentioned the power walks, but I would love to like get tangible. Like tell us what this really looks like. Give us like step by step, because I know that a lot of people are gonna love to hear this and possibly adopt it for themselves.
Yeah, no, I love that. And for me too, power, and this ties into some tangible too, but it's the whole reason I started my podcast in the first place and had this like nudge for more, and this expansion was because all of exactly what you just said, but also knowing our strengths,
Mm,
like knowing like what are those things you're good at, like you're just God-given gifts and strengths, and the things that we often overlook. And this has been such a thread in my life. And, it's why I was such an incredible teacher. It's why my whole education specialist degree was research around empowering people and bringing that out in people and bringing that into their work and into their business. And so for me, when I think about my power board and my power walk, it's like all of that connecting to that vision, connecting that I know I have these desires and things for a reason and moving from that energy, like you said, but it's also like, why me? Why am
mm,
I the one to be doing this? And so, which is also the hardest part of this. Like, this has been something that has been like a huge piece of the work for me. And I think it's like another piece of, I think, is this work, and I think being
mhm,
willing to commit to that. So, my power walk is so much about, for one, I love being outside. Like, it just clears my head. That activates me. And after the hustle and bustle of the mornings, like it's like kicks off my day, moves my body. But it's me really also envisioning that 8-figure Tiff, that
mhm,
Tiff who, and like, how would she think? How would she move? How would she, she wouldn't be. Some days I do work because it feels really freaking good to be on my phone and do some things. But then other days it's like, no, but it's not that feeling of, I have to get this done. I have to crunch this in. It's like trusting myself. It's like that feeling of trust. So I really envision who I am. Like, who is this
mm,
8-figure Tiff? How is she showing up as a mom that day? How is she showing up with clients? How is she showing up in her business? How is she showing up online? And it's
mm.
just reflects in every area of our life. And so that's what I do. I envision that and I walk. And sometimes I pick up the pace and run, right? Or boxing.
Do you listen to music? Is it like a prayer? Are you just, how do you, because sometimes for me, I'll do this and I think I overthink it sometimes. That's just the Virgo in me, but it's like I need like a something to activate me, right? Like
Mhm.
every once in a while, I can do it myself, but otherwise, I need music. I need some sort of like mantra. I need some sort of prayer. I need something to pull it out of me. Otherwise, you know what it is? I'm distracted. I'm
Mhm.
thinking about other things. I'm focused on, that my CPA is pissing me off right now, or that, what the little thing that Cruz just did that I'm just like, oh crap, am I a bad mom? Like how our minds work. So how, how do you just, are you able just to like, boom, snap into it?
Sometimes I have music, but honestly, sometimes music distracts me. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just the quiet. And so it's just like literally I step out my door, I hit the sidewalk, and and I'm not going to say this is perfect. Obviously not. We're human. There's some days my mind is racing too, but it is just the self-awareness of, this is my time. It's like I have it. This is what I
Mm,
do. And I really feel into that. Some days it is music, but most days it's normally quiet. And the quiet, honestly, is probably because I have 3 young boys, and it's constant chaos. And it's
yeah.
like me
Yeah.
being able to get my mind quiet and really embody, okay, this is TIFF time. This is business time. This is like what I love to do,
Mm,
and really getting into that. And it's almost like, because I mean, there are times like it's been a rough morning. Yeah, am I a bad mom this morning after all the things that happened? And it's like then transitioning into business and we're creatives and showing up and creating content and recording podcasts. And it's a lot of energy, but it's the most beautiful thing. I love it so much. And so for me, it's just knowing I step out. That's like the signal of, okay, this is your time. Like even before this podcast, my power walk was like 20 minutes, but it was all about me envisioning this conversation and praying about it, landing with the women who's going to hear this how it's supposed to, because of course it will, and me of envisioning who I desire to be showing up in this conversation in my power and in the confidence and not even, I don't want to say confidence, but just what I envision and what I hope for this, what I hope for that to be. And honestly, it's the power walks are just some of my most creative times because I do get my mind quiet. Like sometimes content's just busting out and I'm taking notes on my phone and, and so, and some days it's been a really hard morning and I'm just in a funk and it's just a walk, literally. But,
so it's not forcing, there's a level of surrender there that the walk gets to be whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to, it goes to back to self-awareness. Like don't step out and listen to music because you think you need to listen to music because somebody else does that. Like what feels good to you? Maybe you try the music and you love it and then you don't love it, And so I've done different things and, it's so cool. I have our neighborhood. There's an older gentleman who he just randomly stopped me one day and he was like, and I don't run very much. I remember my boxer do this. I was like, Allie, there's energy moving. I picked up the pace today. But he like stopped me one day and he was like, well, where's your son? Like, and it was like the coolest conversation. And it was just one of those moments I was in like deep thought. And then I stopped and had this really neat conversation with him. And it was just, it was just like, and for me too, it was just like that moment of being present and appreciating the things and how much that can bring us into our power, it goes back to the gratitude and everything. And so it was just a really cool moment, but though the power walk seems something so small, but it's really where some of my best ideas are born.
I love that.
So, yeah.
I love too how you bring up the man who stopped you because this is something important that I've had to wrap my brain around, remind myself, because this is where like the control can kind of, you miss part of the magic, right? There's got to be a level of trust and surrender in there because otherwise you're just fully trying to control the process, right? Like I'm going to go on this walk and I'm going to visualize and I'm going to tap into my power. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to be blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, you're on this walk and this angel crosses your path and is going to have this conversation with you. It maybe it inspires you to do something. Maybe it's for him. Like he needs that conversation. But either way, God put this person on your path. But you're sitting there, you're like, I'm going to go on this walk and I'm going to visualize, And so like how many times do we bulldoze God-given gifts put on our path, whether it be an old man just wanting to shoot the shit one day or, like your partner coming in just to give you a kiss on the cheek while you're in the middle of something, or your kid wanting to play when you're wanting to work, or a random person that you look at and you assume can't work with you for whatever reason. Meanwhile, like that's your future highest paying client, who like you can support more than they can imagine and they can support you more than you can imagine. But we miss it or we bulldoze through it because we're hanging on so tight to this strict vision of what we think life is going to look like as the 8-figure TIFF, as the, whatever. Meanwhile, God's like, if you would just loosen the hell up and calm down, this can be so much better than you imagine. Yes. Right. And you mentioned like your kids and I do this too. And I think for me, what this looks like is being open to interruption, being open and being not like hanging on so tightly to the way that I want my day to look, and romanticizing the mundane in
Yes.
life, right? Because you had mentioned like, like maybe a few years ago, did you picture you running a business with these three boys running around and causing complete and utter chaos when you're trying just to record a mother effing podcast? No, like no sane person would put that on their power board.
Yeah.
But that's what we got. And like, is that better, like at the end of the day, than we could have ever imagined? Would we trade that for the world? Absolutely not. And that's just one example. So it's like for me, I don't know, that's something that I've been really working on, because in this season of young kids,
Yeah.
there's so many opportunities to get frustrated. There's so many opportunities for to look through the lens of, this is not going like I planned. Or you can look through the lens of, yeah, but how could this be better maybe than I had imagined?
Exactly. And I know you and I have talked about this a little bit, but for me, this journey is so much about becoming. Like it truly, I talk about this a lot on my show about, I don't believe we find our purpose. I feel like it's inside of us. And I feel like we get to unleash that with every layer that we step into. Like I truly, like I'm like literally the person who walks into a room and I like start talking to someone and I'm like, do you see how much potential is inside of you? Like you could turn that into a business. Do you see that? Like all these things. And, but I think about that with our kids too. And I think about, and that's just, I mean, I've always been that way. And I know it is a gift of mine as a mentor and being able to help women see that and stuff. But for me, it is such a commitment to my growth and my becoming and really grounding in who I want to be. And it's not perfect. Are there days I end the day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have been a much better mom today. I could have been, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, what me becoming who, like me following my goals, my dreams, my visions is part of me becoming who I'm supposed to be, because their soul was given to me for a reason. And for me to be able to help them grow into who they were born to be, it's like my job, part of. And so I talk a lot about, I believe we have a purpose in our personal life and I believe we have a purpose through our work.
Mm-hmm.
And that ignited so much. I mean, it's part of the reason I started my podcast is really helping. I lost that, 6 years ago in business. And when I really kind of got grounded back into that, it changed everything for me. And, we have, my oldest son's 9, my youngest son is 3. And it's amazing, but they're so different ages and stages of life. And it's that freedom, however we define that. And so that is something that really drives me, of continuing to find what's this next layer of Tiff? What's this next being of who, stepping into my strengths and my God-given gifts and how that is shaping them too,
So with your boys, because you have 3, they're 3 to 9.
Yeah.
They're so different. How do you, I think this is such a good question. And I mean, I would be curious because you're ahead of the mom curve for me. You've been doing this much longer than I have. And my boys, I mean, I can already tell they're 5.5 and 1. And they are, they're similar in some ways, but I can just tell their spirit's different.
Yes.
Right? Like one is bouncing off the walls, going to like cause anarchy. Just wild. And then, Rhett is a little bit more calm spirited, at least for now.
Yeah.
And I love it. I'm obsessed with both of them. Right. And I'm just like, oh gosh. And I want to foster their natural tendencies, right? Within reason, obviously. But like one of the things that I'm struggling with Cruz is because he is so vivacious and so just, all caps, full force, 0 to 100 all the time. And we love it. there's got to be a little bit of harnessing of
Mhm.
that chaos, right? But I don't want to break his spirit either. And I'm just curious, like as a mom who's been momming longer than I have with three boys who are very different, how do you have you found a way that allows you to really celebrate their individuality? Um, do you get what I'm trying to
Oh
ask?
yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
okay, just go off on that because I
Yeah.
would be really curious.
I love that question because my oldest, very competitive, and it
Hmm.
serves him very well in everything, you know. And granted, my middle one is more reserved, but he's got the little bit of competitiveness to him. And but I love this question because it is, you know, so for my oldest, it is really celebrating the moments where and really pointing that out to him where his competitiveness or those traits, whatever it is, like really like, oh my gosh, that served you well. You know, he plays basketball. So for him, it's those different kind of things. Or even in school, like he loves to be challenged. He loves that kind of thing. So really giving the positive attention to those things. And then the moments where that, you know, he's being a little bit more competitive with his brothers and it may not be very kind, you know, like things like that,
Yeah.
where then it's like just talking about it with him. Like, hey, I
Hmm.
appreciate your competitiveness so much, or I appreciate whatever it is. But do you think that do you think you could have, you know, handled that in a different way? You think you could have gone about that in a different way? Do you think that was really kind? And so I think it's so important to um, nurture, like that is their strengths, you know?
Mm.
And this, I mean, this is everything. It's just so key. But nurture those strengths that they have, see them for that, and how that's going to serve them well. But also take that and teaching them, you know, as they're growing through life, that this is going to serve you very well. But also in this moment, that is not serving you very well. You know, maybe it's kindness with a friend, or it's, you know,
Hmm.
and it just teaches them empathy. It teaches them being aware of other people. And it really teaches them self awareness about themselves, which I think is so key for kids, and especially in their confidence and, you know, owning who they are. And, you know, this is such, I'm so passionate about not only helping women own themselves because it's the fuel to our businesses, but when it comes to our children, I mean, it's so key too. And we as women, when we can really build our self awareness around this, my goodness, the impact that will help on our kids too, and really bring that out in them. And
What do
so,
you mean? Go deeper on that.
like being able to see our strengths and see us for who we are. You know, I know this is a couple of reasons why I was such a successful award winning teacher and all these things, because I never taught the curriculum word for word. I always
Hmm.
pulled from it what I needed to because I knew my kids and I got to know them
Mm.
on deeper levels. And and there's millions of amazing teachers out there that do the very same, but it builds a connection with them. They feel seen, they feel heard. And, you know, the same thing goes in business. It's why I've really deepened this a lot lately. And I've been thinking about my journey a lot of why I felt like I quote unquote struggled so much at the beginning, because it was like, take this strategy and try it on. And of course, we need strategy. Like, we need the strategy, we need to feel confident. But I lost a huge piece of what sets us all apart, what sets me apart, of why I even started my coaching business in the first place, of this power, our strengths, and bringing that in and putting our lens on things. And it goes the same thing with our kids, like helping them see their strengths. And I just relate this to sports a lot just because, Foster, that's my life right now. And I played
Hmm.
sports growing up, but you know, and it's seeing so and so is really good at this on the team, but you're also really good at this. And so how can we take your competitiveness and fuel the things that you're good at? And that's going to help you grow. So it's making them not seem less than, but it's, you know, growing in that. But to sum all that up, it's really helping them see that as such a strength of theirs, and and then talking about it, those moments that it could be redirected a little bit, you know, kind of fueled in a different way, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So yeah, shouting out, speaking out loud. what it is that they're really good at, but your strength could also be used to your detriment in sometimes. And that's for all of us, right? Like stubbornness can really support you in the pursuit of your dreams. If you are relentlessly stubborn when it comes to pursuing your big goals and dreams, it's only a matter of time, right? And it's people that lack a level of stubbornness who end up falling short or never know if they could have done it. And stubbornness can also be to your detriment as well. When you're holding on too tight, when you're not allowing yourself to shift, like, okay, this strategy, it's not working for me. So instead of saying, okay, how can I tweak this? How can I personalize this and make it my own? I'm going to keep going at it because I'm meant to make this happen. It's like, dude, just shift a little bit, pivot just like a quarter inch and it will fit.
Yes.
Just a tiny, tiny bit. So I'm curious because I think that that's a really powerful concept, right? Your biggest strengths can also be some of your biggest detriments without the level of awareness of like, how is this serving me? How is this taking away from me? So are there any, and this, I'm putting you on the spot, but are there any that stand out to you that you're like, no, I know this is like, you're an incredible teacher and I don't know how that would ever be to your detriment. I mean, that can only be a plus in my opinion. But is there something else that you're like, this is an incredible strength of mine, but there are ways that I see where this is detracted or taken away from the bigger thing?
Oh, yes.
Give it to me.
This has been like the biggest lesson for me over the past 2 years, I would say, leadership is a strength of mine, but hard work is a huge strength of mine.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And it stems from my child. I mean, this is a lot of the work that you and I have done together because, my sister and I were the very first one to go to college in our family. And my parents worked extremely hard their whole life. And it served me so well. Like I worked extremely hard, played competitive basketball growing up, had scholarships to go to college, and it's, yes, the hard work, but it's also that old paradigm. I don't want to say old paradigm, just the conditioning that I had that the harder you work, the more money you're going to make.
Yeah.
And obviously in sports that served me very well, like working hard. But if I would have known then what I know now about energy and mindset, and I feel like, this is such a gift. I'm so grateful for the work I've done on myself because I even have conversations now with my oldest son, Foster, about this kind of stuff. And so, but it's that hard work. And even in my very first business, it was harder I worked, you just work hard, just put your head down. And as I've been building this coaching business, it was very much, it's not that I don't work hard. I love the hard work.
Yeah.
Some days I work 2 hours, some days I work 4 hours, and some days I'm up late working. And that's part of it. And I love it. I'm building something so much bigger than what's in the moment right now. But I've had to learn to release that belief that the harder I work, the more money I'm going to make. And really finding, and I know this is something I will keep deepening as I keep growing, which I'm very excited about. And this is why I think us as leaders of ourselves is what I call it. Our self-awareness is so key, and just always leaning into this. But this has been a really big thing for me of letting it be easy. Let it be simple. I'm always asking myself, Tiff, where are we making this more difficult? This is currently in this season right now of asking and it's like constant, right?
Yeah.
But it's that belief, that constant ingrained belief when I'll catch myself. Okay, why? You already did the post. You've done what you needed to do. Go live your damn life.
Yeah.
You don't need to, and I think too, this, I came in to my coaching business. I had a lot of experience in coaching and business. And I have a whole freaking degree in how to coach people, but this is a different level. It was a totally different level. And I know the importance of boundaries and leadership in that, but I think it's so important to, it's been cool to take this to different levels myself. When we think about boundaries with clients and stuff, it's having that belief in them and the potential in them. And we almost think we have to compensate when we don't feel confident in ourselves. But it ties into so many things, obviously, but the harder work mentality kind of thing. But it's Yeah, that's been really big for me.
That's huge. That's for sure one of mine. I caught myself the other day. I was so tired. It was just, like some nights Rhett sleeps, other nights he's just the worst. And it was one of those days where like the night before we just didn't sleep good, and 2 o'clock came and I'm dead to the world inside. Right. I'll be sitting at my desk and it's like I'm keeping myself tethered here. I'm not doing anything, by the way. I'm scrolling. I'm, shifting from this thing to this thing, not really, moving a couple things, like doing nothing. And it's like, go lay down, go take a nap, go take a bath, go read a book, like all, and I'm like, okay, but first, let me do this thing in order for me to take a nap. And it's like, I'll catch myself. I'm like, what am why?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, because I personally, this is still alive in me where it's like, okay, I have to earn that. I have to like, okay, in order for me to be worthy to rest, I need to get every single thing checked off my to-do list right now, immediately, or at least one more thing. And it's just like, okay, number one, not true. Number two, what's going to be the level of work in that, whatever the thing is, right? Like, God forbid that thing that I'm saying that I need to do is make a post because my energy is trash. And I know how that works. You put out a post with trash energy, it's going to get trash results every single time. I know this, but yeah, I would say this is a big one for so many people still.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge for me. Always.
How have you been undoing it for yourself? Just obviously self-awareness is key. And then just practicing, just putting the thing down and allowing yourself to go and just let it be, that surrender piece.
Yeah. And for me, it comes to around creating programs and offers and things. And I think too, because when I was teaching, everything was so like big. It was like this massive steps to things. And so always just asking myself, what is the easiest path to success here? And just things like that. And especially when it comes to like, I love my business. Like, I love it so much. I love showing up. I love what I do, but really training myself that I don't have to be like, money can flow in, but it's never going to flow in at any time if I'm not in that belief, in that trust, in that energy. If I'm only thinking and believing, oh, I still only make a paycheck once a month, or I only, those kinds of things. And so that just has been just consistent practice, I would say. And that's part of my power walk too, is like reminding myself of those things. But yeah, it's been hard work for me, like still too. And I mean, but it's also been some of the most beautiful work I've done on myself. Yeah. And what an amazing time that we live in. I think that we get to not only have businesses that work differently, but that's our reality. We get to do that. Like, we don't have to always be in front of our computer. We got to do the things, right? But, so yeah, consistent practice in that.
One thing that helps me too is, yeah, you're absolutely right. We have, I mean, what a time to be alive and running a business, right? The amount of systems that we have to support us and the automations and the level of passivity that's being allowed for right now through these programs like ManyChat and like funnels and, the things that we're all tinkering with and including right now, AI, whenever we get a handle on that. But also another thing too that I think about is like, I'm modeling this for other women, right? Like, if I don't allow myself to rest and if I don't allow myself to cancel a meeting, right? Like, perfect example. I have a client right now who she was supposed to be teaching something today, and she like sold this thing that was live. And people were like taking off work for it and all the things. And she doesn't have a voice right now. And it's funny because like yesterday you messaged me, you're like, I feel this tickle in my voice. And I was like, what's happening with everybody's voices? But genuinely, she doesn't have a voice. You cannot teach without a voice, like, unless you know sign language. And people, like, It's kind of a big piece of teaching live. And she reached out and she was like, what do I do? Like, I feel so bad. And I'm like, well, how would you feel if you were a student and somebody showed up anyway because you took off work or whatever, but they can't speak and you can't hear them. So now not only did you take off work and put time aside to be there, but now like it's for literally nothing. And like you could have been somewhere else, but now you can't hear anything. Like how would you, people want you to do the best thing for yourself, right? Like they do. And they want that for them too. So it's just remembering the humanity of it all, but also like we're modeling all the time what we're expecting of each other. So if I never allow myself to take a nap, or, you know, like if let's say, for example, that today I didn't feel very good, or something came up with one of the kids and I was going to be distracted or whatever, and I needed to move this, you would have understood. You might have been a little disappointed, but like, you know, like, and this podcast would be better if one of us were to do that and say, hey, this is not going to be the best time. I'm going to make a judgment call right now. We're going to pick this up another time. That's the best for you, for the other person, and for everybody else involved. But we don't realize, like, we put this amount of pressure on ourselves and we don't realize that not only do we do that to ourselves, but we're also demonstrating to people watching us that that's what they should do too.
I know. It's so true. And I've had moments with clients where exactly what you said, where something life came up, you know, a kid got sick or just something, or I got sick, and those feelings, oh my gosh, am I holding the integrity, you know, and it's like, I can't show up in my best right now for them. Like, there's nothing wrong with moving a call. There's nothing wrong. And that has been another piece of the hard work, you know, like thinking it has to be a certain way. It has to, it's like, I get to do this my way. And actually me leaning into my way is the way, you know, and reminding myself of them. Yeah. That's such a good point. So huge.
So what else has been going on in your world? What have you been working on? What have you been musing on? I know a big piece of something that you and I always come around to talking about together is that energy of going all in when it comes to our businesses, when it comes to our visions. I feel like when we come together, we always go really big, and I would love to go there again. But what else is coming up for you in the past few months? And as we're closing out 2023, what are some things that you're reflecting on?
This is such a good question. This year's been pretty awesome. Just from, there's been so much growth in myself and obviously business, you know, too, but goals have not been met in some ways, you know, and goals have been met in some ways. But I think, one of the biggest things that I've just really been reflecting on a lot lately is there have been so many moments that people in my shoes would have quit this. So many moments. And it's interesting, but it's not, because the whole reason I started my podcast 4 years ago was because I was coaching women coming to me that were not even in my current business at the time, and some in my current business or that business. But I was like, if they could only see what I see in them, like this leader in them, if they could see their strengths, if they could see their power, if they could see these things, wow, the impact they could go have on this world. The you know, that's like the consistency and the commitment to their goals and their visions, like them truly stepping into them. And that feeling of, you know, I'm sure a lot of you listening, like, we're entrepreneurs here. Like, I've just always known, like, I remember even when I was little, and even sitting in meetings when I was a teacher, knowing like, this is not it for me. Like, just always knowing I was meant to do something big. Even when I started my first business in network marketing, like, I knew that was just not it. It was a stepping stone. I'm going to be leading to something bigger. And that is literally the gut feeling that I have followed over and over and over again these past 4 years when, my goodness, there have been so many moments. It would have been so much easier to quit. And I've known that I've been given lots of opportunities to practice
Mm-hmm.
what this mission and this movement I want to lead. But the biggest thing I reflected on this past couple months is that, and I almost lost that at some times. And I think that, I don't want to say I lost it, but it's like this is a gift of mine. Like being able to keep pulling out my strengths and my power and putting my lens on things that I have not always done a good job of, but challenging myself to do that. And the very movement and the mission I want to be leading for women is, I have been given so many deep moments to practice that over the last 4 years, but especially the past 2 years. And it's, it's that moment of, okay, I got that feeling of big. I'm taking these steps forward. Things are working. And then, oh my gosh, they're not working. And oh, okay, so now we're going to try some new things. And I've just been really thinking about, how have I continued to keep going? And I think we all start because we have a passion. We all start because we have a dream. We all start because we have this vision. But when we get going and the how, what we thought is the path, doesn't work out, that's when we lose our strengths. And I think it's our responsibility to find that. And so I've just been reflecting on that in myself, and just honestly being so damn proud of myself in many moments, and really leaning into that even more as I think about the end of this year in 2024, and just feeling even more grounded and settled. I don't know, maybe I'm gonna be 40 in December. It's just like,
Oh, wow.
and I think what's so beautiful about these businesses that we get to create here, in the coaching space, in the online space, whatever it may be, that it doesn't matter our age. It's like literally how we lead ourselves and our wisdom and our experience that we get along the way that matters, and so that has just been a huge reflection piece for me. And I think back on my journey, and there's so many moments I've been so frustrated, and but I mean, obviously, clearly all of us, but I'm so grateful for all of the experiences, because I mean, I just wrapped up the first version of or actually second, but of my Icon program, which is about branding and stuff. And the wisdom I was able to share in there because of my struggles around niching and not niching and being specific and all these things. And I just got done with that program. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to share this. And that was the reason for my path. And because I truly believe this is going to be a huge piece, of that's going to help women. And so that's just been a big reflection piece.
Well, when you said that you made a lot of goals that you didn't hit, my first thought was, oh, so you set the right goals. Like if you're setting goals that you're hitting, then you should have aimed higher, in my humble opinion. Right? Like that's good. In my eyes, that's good. That's how big we should. And to me, that is like fully entrenched in your own power. If you are really believing all that you are is all that you are, and then some, and more than you can even fathom, and more than anybody else even understands. And this is true for all of us. If you're really, really bought into that, your goals should make no sense.
Yeah.
None. Have you heard the story of Joan of Arc?
Tell me.
Sharp left.
Tell me.
Okay. Well, listen, we've all heard of Joan of Arc, right? And like, I'm gonna come out as an idiot right now, because literally if somebody had said like, have you heard of Joan of Arc? I'd be like, yeah, of course. And they'd be like, well, what'd she do? I'd be like, I don't fucking know. She's a badass, I literally just heard the story of Joan of Arc. Okay. I'm going to put it in the tiniest nutshell, and this is going to give this story no justice at all, but she's French. And when she was 14 or something, so France was at war with England. And when she was 14, she got a message from Archangel Michael and a few other saints, like angels, basically saying like, you are going to save France. from England. Like you're the one. And she got these messages to like remain a virgin because she don't get distracted by dudes and go save France. 14.
Wow.
And this woman has the audacity to not only believe this, but speak this, proclaim this out loud, leave her family as her whole village is pillaged and they're left with nothing and they are fleeing for their literal lives. They're going right. She goes left toward the army and gets a hold of King whatever the frick of France, somehow gets in front of him, and how she's able to demonstrate that like she's legit is she was gifted with the gift of psychic ability, so she could like tell them very specific things about them that no. So this was like how she was able to demonstrate that she's legit. Like she really has talked to angels and she's the one and all the things. And like, that was her way. Otherwise they'd just be like, little girl, run off, like get out of here. You know, she was like, why are you living with your mistress when you're married? And dude's like, what? I mean, like,
wow.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm going somewhere with this. So long story short, she fights like front lines with the French army. She gets like at one point she gets shot with an arrow, like right here between her shoulder and her neck, continues fighting. Another point, like gets hit with a rock on the helmet, breaks her helmet in half. Anyway, France ends up, y'all, I'm going to butcher this story, but they end up like making a deal with England and doing a ceasefire of some sorts. And she's like, what the frick? No, like we needed whatever. She ends up getting captured by England. And anyway, they end up burning her alive. And
wow.
Not that, you know, anybody wants that for themselves, but like my point is the audacity and the level, like at what level of delusion in other people's eyes are you willing to believe in yourself before the thing comes true?
It's, this has been like the deepest work for me, Allie.
Yeah.
And I think for so many of us, I mean, but it's like my goals and like vision has, and I for all of us, I think, and you know, I think it's so important we keep this. It's about so much more than me, and it's about building something that's always been about so much more than me. But it's, you know, it's never going to happen if I don't have the audacity to fully own. And I've been reflecting a lot on identity work and just my own journey of that, and really, and I think the Branch photo shoot too brought this out of just the identities I've had to leave behind to step into more of who I believe I was born to be and the purpose I have here and what I'm doing here through my business and who I'm meant to serve. But especially when we're building online, like being able to own that. And I know there's moments you've like told me like, Tiff, I just want to shake you. And I'm like, I know, I need to, you know, and it's,
yeah,
but it's like, it's been so, I feel like with every step, it's just stepping more into audacity and willing. And it's not being triggering or anything like that. It's just like saying the story.
It
like,
might be though.
And yeah, it may be. And
that's the thing though. That's what we can't control other people's perceptions.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And can you imagine if she had like, and I realize that's like a wild example, but also like if somebody can do that, you can pursue your business and your big goals to be a 7-figure, 8-figure plus earner. Okay.
Exactly.
But
it's so true though.
But like what, you know, how many times do we sit there? We're like, well, I want to say this out loud. Like I feel this in my soul that this is who I am. But like if I say this out loud, they're going to think I'm batshit crazy. And then God forbid this doesn't happen. I look like an idiot.
Yes.
That's what we do to ourselves. That is not faith. Okay. If you had faith in what you were doing, you'd be scared, but you'd say it anyway. You'd proclaim it anyway. You'd move forward anyway, regardless of anybody else's perception that we cannot control. We cannot control.
Exactly.
There's always going to be somebody who thinks you're an idiot, whether you're playing really, really small or really freaking big or literally every single mark in between.
Yeah.
Can't control it. Your mother-in-law is going to think that you are irresponsible and you should be at home with your babies, period. Your mom is going to want you to, be doing something else, period. Your dad is not going to understand what you're doing, no matter what it is that you're doing, period. Who cares?
Exactly. I have this, I always have these thoughts just because, like it's almost a walk into certain places, here with my kids or whatever. And I see people who are in our just like world, my day-to-day life. And, it's that moment of like, oh, they see me share these things online and, they may think, oh, Tiff's doing some really cool things. So that's her, business. Like, that's so exciting. And in my gut, I want to be like, it's like shooting stars coming at me. Like, if you only knew what I'm really doing here, and it's like those feelings of, but owning that. And that is so much of this work and being willing to lean into that. And I think that is something that keeps me going. It's that feeling I know I'm meant to do more and I am doing more. And it's that finding my edge, finding that even more of me and letting that really, really come out. And gosh, and just the identity work. That's just been so huge for me.
Well, okay. So one thing that I want to talk about before we end is like shifting to age 40. And I'm sure there's a ton of identity work that's coming with that. I watched the Call Her Daddy podcast with Gwyneth Paltrow. Did you see that one? I've talked about it a couple of times on here because it made me so happy. Because one of the ways that we're conditioned as women, at least in the States, is to fear aging with everything that we have. Fight it at all costs, right? Like God forbid you have a gray hair and you let it show. God forbid you have smile lines because you've lived a happy life, right? Like hide it, cover it immediately. And listen, your girl is a proponent for Botox. I'm here for do you?
Oh yes, for sure.
But also it's like the attitude towards aging as a whole. And anyway, so this podcast with Gwyneth Paltrow, it made me so happy. But it's a fantastic conversation. She talks about Brad Pitt. She talks about Ben Affleck. It was so good. But anyway, one of the things that made me so happy, she was like, I can't remember exactly how she phrased it, but she was like, something so magical happened when I turned 40. She said, I'm like my favorite version of myself. I give 0 Fs what anybody thinks. Like something just shifts at age 40. And she said, by the way, age 50, same thing, but better. And I was like, oh, that's so fun to hear. So as you're approaching this massive milestone birthday, how are you feeling? Like, what does that feel like for you? Are you, it sounds like you're embracing it. It sounds like you're excited about it. But like when you mention identity work, who is 40-year-old Tiff?
Well, for one, I still feel like I'm 28. So like that, I like the age of 40. It's just so funny though. You think back, time flies, but it doesn't. I think about when I was in college and my uncle turned 40 and I was like, oh, that's so far away.
And so old.
Yeah. And, no, but yeah, it is this level of groundedness on new levels. You think, 20s were great. 30s were really good, but 40, it is this layer of, I don't even know. I do know, but trying to think of a way to put it into words, but it's grounded, but it's this layer of, this is who I am, like knowing more of myself, like letting go of, it's not even what people think, but it's those thoughts that we carry with us. I think they come with us from our childhood. I always give the analogy of being the little girl in the classroom, knowing the answer to the problem that the teacher is giving, but you don't want to raise your hand because what if you get it wrong and people are going to laugh at you? We have moments like that were small but big in our lives. And we carry those things. It's like posting on social media. What's so-and-so going to think? And there I mean, I'm human. There's times I still catch myself, and it's like stepping more into that of this is what I'm doing. I'm so on fire about it. And there's a new level to it all, like this is where I'm going. And so I want to say bolder, braver, even more heart than ever before. Always had the heart, obviously, but even more of me, like my magic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just, and knowing, looking back, so dang proud of myself and my total 18-year career and life into this moment, and having just a new gratitude for so many things, and even more excitement. It's like, gosh, I've already done all that. Damn, what I can't wait to see what I do this next,
Yeah.
10 years
Totally.
and what that's going to look like. And also, like, I think about the Tiff that started her career as a teacher, went to college and beautiful experience, loved it all. But it was like, that's what I'm going to be doing the rest of my life. And did I imagine I'd be teaching online and coaching online? Like that never, but how amazing it is that I have the audacity to step into that
Yeah.
and figure these things out and follow that feeling and that gut. And 40, I just can't even imagine what's coming. Like, I think about offers that I've had in my mind and visions for my business that I see coming to life that I'm just so excited about, because there's a new level of confidence and belief in myself too. And it's not just because it's 40. Yeah, the wisdom. And that's just why I value so much my own growth, and why I've always, like, I talk about leadership a lot, and it's a huge strength of mine, but I've always, like, I want to be 100 years old and still learning and growing, like we want to have success in business. We want to have success in life. And I even coached on this a lot when I was leading teams and stuff. And it's like, we know this, it starts with us. Like, so I think about the wisdom. I think about the knowledge. I think about the lessons and being able to carry everything over. I don't know. It's just really exciting to think about. So.
Well, I'm excited to see what's next for you in this next decade. I know people that are following along, or that will very soon be following along with your journey. I mean, just, you're going to love what you find, because this is, I mean, I love how you speak. I love your energy. You do have this groundedness about you, this deep inner knowing, this peace about you. It's not loud. It's this calm, audacious, wise woman who knows that what you've done is incredible, but you've barely gotten started on what's possible. And that's what I hear when I see you, when I speak with you. So for anybody listening that isn't already following Tiffany, please do, and tell everybody where they can find you, where they can listen to your podcast, and what they can look forward to next in your world.
Thank you, Allie. It means so much. What a journey we've been on, right?
Oh, I know. I know.
It's been so fun. Tiffany G. Wallace on Instagram. My podcast is Well Integrated Woman. And yeah, lots of things coming out. I've got launching a podcast program. I've got my 5K in a day mini course coming out, and Icon, and my signature kind of, I stand for what I call being the leader of your life, like how to kind of get clarity on our strengths and our next levels and kind of growth and that kind of thing. So, yeah, lots of fun stuff.
Love it.
Yeah, just it's all exciting, to think about.
Well, we will link all the things in the show notes, but thank you so much. This has been like the third time you've come on here. You might be my most recurring guest, which is so fun.
You can't get rid of me.
I can't. I don't want to, but I love that about us.
I know.
But it's just been so fun walking beside you through the different seasons of motherhood and entrepreneurship, and as partners, and just like women who just want it all. That's who we are. And it's just been so fun to be able to go through so much life with you. So thank you for giving me that honor and that opportunity. And thank you for coming here and sharing your heart with my people.
Thank you. It's
You're
been an honor for
amazing.
me.
All right, y'all. We will link Tiff in the show notes and all the things. Until next time, I will see y'all next week. Bye.